The pregnant widow bought a cabin on the cliff, but the sea climbed higher each night. I know this sounds impossible, but I swear every detail I'm about to share happened exactly as I'm telling you in Cape May, New Jersey during the spring of 2022. Before I continue this true supernatural account, subscribe to hear the full story that forever changed my understanding of life and loss. As I stood on the cliff, the restless waves below whispered my name in a haunting melody, seeming to beckon me closer to their depths. I could almost hear their song, a plaintive serenade filled with both sorrow and something I couldn't quite place, a dire urgency that made my heart race. Each night, the air filled with the scent of salt and seaweed so strongly that it felt suffocating, wrapping around me like a wet blanket. The chilling breeze carried whispers of long-lost sailors, warning me to leave before it was too late. It was terrifying and beautiful, a siren call that resonated through my very being. On one of those nights, as I leaned against the weathered railing of the cabin's deck, an unseen presence brushed against my arm, a cold touch that pulled me back, away from the cliff's edge. A wave of panic washed over me. The bitter taste of fear flooded my mouth, making it hard to breathe as I struggled against the trepidation creeping up my spine. In my solitude, the shadows of my past came alive, manifesting in the corners of the cabin. My late husband's laughter felt like an echo bouncing off the walls, intertwining with our dreams of family that never came to fruition. It was hard not to feel the weight of the ocean pressing against the cliffs with relentless force, a living entity that watched me, perhaps even judged me for my presence there. The tides turned ominous as the moon hung in the night sky like a knowing eye, and with each passing hour, my dread deepened. One stormy evening, finding myself inexplicably drawn to the window, I felt compelled to look out at the turbulent sea. My heart pounded in my chest as I gazed into the frothy chaos. Was it the sea that was threatening to take me? Or was something darker lurking just beneath its surface? It was as if currents of despair coiled around me, tightening their grip and leaving me suffocated by uncertainty. The line between reality and the supernatural blurred, and I felt myself teetering on the brink of something unknowable. In desperation, I sought solace and guidance from the forgotten lore of the townspeople, their voices echoing through my dreams. They spoke of the spirits of the sea, those who had come before, who made pacts with the restless entities guarding the cliffs. If you've ever felt the presence of something otherworldly, you understand the shivers that ran down my spine as their stories unfolded, painting vivid pictures of sorrow and desperation. I felt the history pulse through me, a grim reminder that by claiming the cabin as my refuge, I had unwittingly stirred the spirits tied to this land. Days turned into restless nights as the ominous patterns grew more pronounced, making it increasingly difficult to dismiss them as figments of an overwrought imagination. One evening, a particularly violent storm raged outside, winds howling with a vengeance, shaking the very foundations of my new home. As I stared at the tempestuous waves crashing against the cliff, I felt a shift in the air, a charged energy vibrating just beneath the surface of reality. The storm seemed to boil with anger as though it had a message, an ancient warning that threatened to be lost to the echoes of time. The sound of thunder rumbled like giant fists pounding against the sky, and in that moment, I resolved to confront whatever had awakened within the shadows. "Why do you torment me?" I shouted into the howl of the wind, my voice swallowed by the cacophony of nature's wrath. I was determined to challenge whatever forces lingered behind those crashing waves, not willing to be simply another ghost tied to the cliff. A voice pierced through the tumult, raw with long-buried agony, answering me with an eerie clarity. "Return what was taken." The simplicity of the message sent my mind reeling, as if the hurricane around me had paused to hear those words. There, on the precipice, I felt power surge through the very air surrounding me, and a flicker of understanding ignited within my heart. I was deadlocked between two realms, one filled with my fears and the other teeming with secrets waiting to be unearthed. The ocean was more than just a body of water. It was a keeper of stories, a graveyard of memories left unacknowledged. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of a confrontation that would test the boundaries of my strength, spirit, and understanding. With the wind howling a relentless symphony, I stood trembling on the threshold of discovery, a realization dawning that intensified my fear. I was not simply an outsider encroaching on a forgotten place. I was part of a long, tragic tapestry woven through generations. The sea had its own heartbeat, one that drummed a rhythm I could no longer ignore. As I gathered my wits to face the storm, not just the elements, but the unseen forces entwined in its fury, I knew I needed to understand the history pulsating below the surface. In search of answers, I turned to the townspeople's old legends, hoping to unravel the connections that had eluded me until now. The quaint shops that lined the cobblestone streets felt oddly alive with the whispers of decades long past. Tales of brotherhood among sailors who had ventured into mysterious waters, only to be claimed by their depths, danced through my mind as the locals shared their stories over warm cups of coffee. If you've ever sensed a presence in an empty room, you understand the chill that ran down my spine, that strange feeling that perhaps, just perhaps, I was not alone in this quest. One elderly woman, her eyes a mirror of the sea, recounted a fateful shipwreck that had occurred decades earlier. It was called the Eleanor's Hope, she said, her voice barely above a whisper, as if afraid of disturbing the spirits she believed still wandered. They searched for salvage, but only found sorrow. Those souls, they still seek justice. I could feel her words prickling the hairs on my arms. The echoes of that history loomed large, demanding recognition and respect from me, the intruder. Desperation gripped me as I felt a desperate compulsion to honor those forgotten passengers, to understand what they needed from me. I needed to learn about the pacts made with the ancient spirits, the very ones that entwined my fate with theirs. Perhaps it was my pregnancy that had drawn their attention. Or maybe it was the very act of moving into this cabin perched upon the cliff, their old haunt. There was no denying the connection I felt. It wasn't a coincidence. Part of me was cringing with fear, grappling with the implications of the tales. Returning to my cabin that night, I found myself once again staring out at the sea, its surface roiling under the moonlight as if it were alive, breathing in concert with my racing heart. The waves seemed more insistent, whispering secrets in the dark, urging me not to shy away from the truth that awaited. Driven by an insatiable curiosity, I resolved to delve deeper. Yet the shadows flickering in the corners of my home summoned a sense of dread that nearly paralyzed me. They felt like hands reaching out from the past, grasping at my consciousness, a reminder of the lives lost and the stories left untold. As I explored the depths of my fear and connection with the sea, my dreams became more vivid, filled with fragmented images of fierce storms and haunting faces frozen in terror. Distorted whispers plagued my nights, begging for acknowledgement and forgiveness. My husband's comforting presence often felt lost in the fray, replaced by glimpses of once living souls, desperately reaching for the surface, yet drowning beneath the weight of despair. Why are you here? I'd hear myself asking in a hushed tone, hoping for clarity in return. Then, one night, I awoke from a nightmare to find the air cooler and heavier than before. I sensed a movement in the room, an uncanny chill that prickled my skin. "Leave this place," a voice whispered from the shadow. I turned, heart racing, but could only see the darkness coalescing in the far corner of the room. The familiar scent of brine invaded my senses, wrapping around me like a shroud. The stage was set for a confrontation, a moment where I could confront the very fears that haunted me or succumb to the darkness that loomed within. It was time to reclaim power from this ancient struggle. I needed to communicate, to understand what bond tied me to the spirits of the sea, and what I could offer them in return for my safety and the life of my child. Each sentence I formed was laced with trepidation as I rattled off the questions swirling through my mind. What is it you desire? What must I return? The wind seemed to conspire with the waves, echoing my voice back at me, teasing answers that would elude me for now. With every day that I remained in the cabin, each sunset casting long shadows across the ocean, I became increasingly aware of the bond that was forming between myself and the spirits. It was almost palpable, like a thread of fate weaving through my life, reaching out from another time and place. If I could only embrace that thread, perhaps I could weave a patchwork of understanding that would bridge the chasm between us. Now confronted with the hallowed desire for redemption, I embarked on the path of investigation. I sought out the town's historian, an elderly gentleman who was said to know the ins and outs of every family and every tragedy that had unfolded along the coast. I envisioned the answers I craved lying hidden on the pages of his vast collection of worn and tattered books, their spines whispering secrets awaiting a curious mind. As I entered the historian's cluttered office, the smell of old paper and dust enveloped me, an ambiance thick with the weight of unspoken history. There, amongst the nostalgia of forgotten tales, I hoped to unravel the anchors holding those lost souls captive. I felt my spirit shudder, urging me forward, determined to uncover the story of the Eleanor's Hope and the price that had been paid for what had been lost. I would not allow their plight to fade into obscurity. I would confront my fears, and by doing so, find peace in the tumultuous depths of my own heart. As I stepped into the historian's cluttered office, the smell of old paper mingled with dust, creating an ambiance thick with unspoken tales. Across the room, he sat hunched over a collection of books, their spines like sentinels guarding forgotten histories. Ah, the Eleanor's Hope, he mused, adjusting his glasses. A tragic tale indeed. His voice trembled with the weight of the past, resonating in my ears like the start of a dark sea shanty. He organized his notes and began unraveling the story. In the mid-1800s, a crew of 30 set sail despite dire warnings of an impending storm. They disappeared, swallowed whole by the angry ocean. Rumor has it their spirits linger, bound to the cliff, waiting for justice. My heart raced. I felt the air shift, as if the walls themselves held their breath. "Justice," I whispered, my voice barely audible as realization poured over me. These weren't just echoes of a tragic accident. They were souls desperately seeking acknowledgement. "What kind of justice?" I asked, my curiosity barely masking my trepidation. The historian's eyes narrowed, moving with intensity as he recounted the legend of one sailor who had made a pact, not out of malice, but desperation. He promised to return what had been lost to the sea, but the promise was never fulfilled. Their souls remained trapped in the depths of sorrow. My skin prickled at the thought. By moving into this cabin, I had unwittingly, disruptively stirred the mists of mourning. With his trembling hands, the historian slid a brittle parchment toward me. "This contains the last known record of the captain," he said, his voice thick with respect. My fingers traced the faded ink as I took it in, feeling an unexplainable pulse of energy emanating from the page. This was a thread connecting me to a tragic history, one woven deep into the fabric of the town itself. That night, even as the storm raged outside, I returned to my cabin, heart pounding with anticipation. The parchment lay before me, illuminated by the flicker of candlelight. Whispering winds rushed past the windows, and I inhaled the sharp scent of salt water that hung in the air. The soft murmurs began again, rising from the depths of the night, coaxing me to listen. "Return what was taken." The phrase became an echo in my mind, wrapping around my consciousness tightly. If I could uncover what had been lost, perhaps I could finally understand their collective longing for peace. The next morning, driven by an internal compass set to understand, I walked along the beach, searching the shoreline as the tide receded. I felt the ocean call to me, its voice entwined with the howling wind, urging me to find something that could bridge the gap between our worlds. It felt like part of a benevolent invitation, The ocean wanted me to discover a connection, a clue tethered to the Eleanor's hope. Kneeling beside the gently lapping waves, I began to sift through sand, the grains spilling through my fingers cold and crisp. Just as weariness threatened to take hold, my fingers brushed against something solid beneath the surface. A spark of hope ignited in my chest as I unearthed a tarnished silver compass, its needle quivering uncontrollably as if unsure of its purpose. I held it aloft, marveling at its engravings, CES. I could almost hear the whispers intensify, my blood humming with the significance of this find. The compass belonged to the captain, a tangible reminder of his ill-fated promise to navigate his crew back home. Realization flooded me. I had uncovered a piece of their story, a token that might hold the key to unraveling their sorrow. Tears welled in my eyes as understanding washed over me. I was tasked with more than mere remembrance. I needed to honor their memory through tangible connection. Standing on the shoreline, the rushing waves seemed to invite me deeper, wrapping around me with a newfound sense of purpose. With the compass clutched tightly in my hand, I felt the pull of ancient energies merging with my resolve. I began planning a ritual to honor the spirits of the Eleanor's Hope. My heart raced as the pieces began to fall into place. I had to return the compass and offer an acknowledgement of their tragedy. The storm had beckoned me onto this path of revelation, and now I was ready to confront the very spirits whose plight I had unearthed. The following evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, I gathered items, personal tokens that reflected the town's memories intertwined with the lost crew's legacy. Candles flickered in the dusk, their flames dancing with the spirits of old. With each breath, I felt the boundaries between our worlds meld, pushing me closer to understanding their story, begging me to share it with those willing to listen. Standing at the cliff's edge with the compass in hand, I called out to them. "I hear you," I shouted into the crashing waves below. "I am here to remember your stories, to return what has been taken. You are not forgotten." As the wind howled around me, I felt the presence of those lost souls surge, wrapping around me in unity. In that pivotal moment, I understood. This compass was more than an artifact. It symbolized the journey we all take, to navigate through loss, pain, and ultimately toward understanding. My call resonated with the spirits, revealing the profound connection we shared. I took a deep breath, steadying myself against the elements, ready to carry their legacy forward. Now, armed with courage and intention, I would become their voice. The ocean and I were intertwined, bound by fate, and together we would seek the peace that all souls deserve. As I stood on the cliff's edge, the wind whipped through my hair, intertwining with the depths of my resolve. The compass, now warm in my hand, pulsed with energy, almost whispering secrets of the past, yet to be unearthed. The moment had come. I was ready to articulate the stories of the Eleanor's Hope, and I could feel the very air thick with anticipation. As twilight settled, I laid out the tokens, items that represented the town's memories and the spirits I aimed to honor. Each candle flickered in defiance of the encroaching darkness, illuminating the contours of the cliff as if casting a spotlight on the shadows that had long lingered. The reverberation of waves crashing below created a rhythmic backdrop, echoing the heartbeat of the earth itself, a reminder that this place was alive with the essence of those lost at sea. With a deep breath, I lit the candles one by one, their flames dancing as if to welcome the spirits. "Tonight, I speak for you," I declared, my voice steady but filled with emotion. "I am here to acknowledge your existence, your pain, and your forgotten stories. You are not alone." I could almost sense the gathering presence of lost souls drawn to the flickering lights, feeling their ethereal essence rise in response. An unexpected breeze rushed in, sending chills down my spine, and I knew I had somehow opened a channel between our worlds. "I return what has been taken," I proclaimed, holding the compass aloft. The initials, CES, glinted in the candlelight, and I felt their stories surging through me, intertwining with my own. This belongs to you. As the winds howled around me, I felt once again the weight of their collective loss, the burden of unsung tragedies woven into the fabric of my being. Just as I began to question my courage, an uncanny stillness fell upon the cliff. It felt as though time had paused. The waves, too, stood still, as if all nature was listening. "Thank you for remembering." A voice finally broke the silence, soft yet resonant. It echoed from the depths of the ocean, caressing my ears with its familiarity. The atmosphere shifted, and I sensed an energy gathering, a charge, both hopeful and mournful. Figures began to coalesce before my eyes, wreathed in misty light, their forms both beautiful and haunting. They were here. "Return what was lost," one whispered, their voice a soft plea tumbling through the twilight air. Waves of longing washed over me, and in that moment, I understood their intent. They wished not only to be remembered, but to share their stories, intertwined with my own existence. "I promise to ensure that your tales are told," I vowed, my voice trembling with authenticity. As I reached toward the ghostly woman nearest me, who radiated a warmth that seemed to pierce through the chill of the night, she met my gaze with bright, sorrowful eyes. Her presence was both calming and empowering. I could feel the deep-rooted pain and loss that had lingered for generations. "Do not let us fade into mere whispers," she urged, her voice a haunting echo entwined with the sound of crashing waves. "We need a way to find peace." "My life will carry your stories forward," I replied, my voice unwavering. "I will share them with the world so you may find solace." With every word, I felt the shadows around me swirl, a congregation of spirits eager for their chance to be heard. As the last syllable escaped my lips, another gust of wind surged by, extinguishing most of the candle flames, leaving only the compass glowing softly in the darkness. My heart sank. Did this signify a rejection? But the moment was brief, and I felt a heaviness lift as the figures of the lost crew began to shimmer and pulse around me. "We honor your resolve," the voice resounded once more, now filled with a sense of gratitude. As I knelt upon the earth, overwhelmed with emotion, I sensed their collective relief. They were no longer just souls searching for connection. They were ready to reclaim their narratives. With the compass cradled gently in my hands, I felt the first hints of warmth break through the cold. The air sparked with energy. They were infusing the very essence of those lost into my being. I could feel the stories swirling in my mind, a whirlwind of names and events, tragedies and triumphs. Slowly but surely, the spirits began to fade, merging back into the night as I held the compass steady. But their promise remained, an indelible bond now sealed by my oath to carry forth their tales. As the ocean's roar returned, I could sense a new harmony established between us. Feeling a sense of purpose grip my heart, I stood once more at the edge of the earth, casting a final glance at the water below. In that moment of connection, I realized that I was not an outsider anymore. I was part of their story, a conduit for their truths. I turned away, ready to face the challenges ahead with the weight of the compass guiding my journey, knowing I would fight to ensure the memory of the Eleanor's Hope would never be forgotten again. Determined to honor the spirits of the Eleanor's Hope, I returned to my cabin, the compass cradled in my palm like a precious gemstone. The soft glow it emitted soothed my heart, infusing me with a sense of purpose that pulsed through my veins. I needed to delve deeper into their stories and share them, not just to remember, but to liberate them from their earthly ties. The next morning, light streamed through the windows, warming the space that had previously felt suffocating. I pulled out my notebook and began jotting down everything the historian had said about the ship and its crew. I felt a sense of urgency. My task wasn't merely to recount their demise, but to weave a narrative honoring their lives. As I wrote, images filled my mind, visions of sailors laughing, families waiting for their return, dreams left unfulfilled. Each stroke of my pen acted as a bridge, connecting me to their spirits, pulling their memories from the depths of the ocean where they had lain submerged for so long. The compass remained beside me as inspiration, a tangible reminder of my vow. I decided to visit the local library that afternoon, determined to uncover more about the Eleanor's Hope and its crew. The town's archives had to hold additional records, perhaps pieces of information overlooked by the historian. I imagined uncovering letters or diary entries that would breathe life into their stories, making them real once more. Stepping into the library, I felt the quiet embrace of knowledge. Shelves lined with dust-covered volumes whispered secrets, while the scent of aging paper and polished wood surrounded me. I made my way to the history section, running my fingers along the spines, searching for anything that could lead me closer to the truth. After several hours of digging through old newspaper clippings, I found a faded article titled, "The Tragedy of the Eleanor's Hope." My heart raced as I unfolded the brittle paper. "Ship vanished without a trace," it proclaimed. The article detailed the fateful night of the storm, accounts from witnesses who had seen the ship leave port, and tales of families reeling from the sudden loss. I felt the weight of their anguish in every line. Just then, I heard footsteps behind me. Turning, I came face to face with a younger woman with striking green eyes. "You're interested in the Eleanor's Hope, aren't you?" she asked, eyeing the article in my hands. "Yes," I replied, surprise stealing my words. "I'm trying to learn more about what happened." "I'm Lana," she introduced herself, her voice warm and inviting. "I've been researching the ship for years. Are you aware of the local legends surrounding it?" There was a flicker of excitement in her gaze, and I couldn't help but feel hopeful. "I've heard a few stories, but I want to uncover the truth of the crew's lives, not just their tragic end," I explained, my heart swelling with anticipation. Lana stepped closer, her enthusiasm infectious. "That's exactly what I've been trying to do. The spirits are said to linger, searching for someone to tell their story and give them peace. If you're serious about this, I would love to work with you." The idea of joining forces felt right, like another thread weaving into the tapestry of the Eleanor's Hope. "Absolutely!" I exclaimed, feeling a rush of momentum. Over the next few weeks, we became inseparable partners in our quest. Lana introduced me to townsfolk who had relatives connected to the ship, elders who still remembered stories passed down through generations, legends of love, loss, and loyalty. We visited graveyards, searching for headstones, matching the names from the articles, hoping to connect the living with the lost. One day, we met an elderly man named Frank, whose father had been a crew member. His frail hands trembled as he shared memories. "My father always told me stories of nights spent at sea, of storms that seemed to tear the world apart," Frank reminisced, his voice a mix of nostalgia and sorrow. "But he believed the spirits finished their work. Justice was never served." "How so?" I questioned, leaning closer, eager to hear more. "There was talk of a scandal, a captain who may have cut corners, disregarding warnings to save money," Frank revealed, his gaze distant, lost in time. "But to this day, no one knows the truth. The whole town turned a blind eye. My father said it was shameful." The pieces began to grow heavier, more complex, together formulating a narrative beyond mere tragedy. I could almost feel the spirits of the ship surrounding us, urging me to delve deeper into this hidden past. As each story unfolded, I felt the anger of unresolved injustices and the sorrow of last goodbyes. Their longing for peace resonated within me, pushing me to share these truths globally. One stormy night, as thunder rolled overhead, I returned home and opened my journal, filled with notes, sketches, and my growing connection to these forgotten souls. It was time. I had to craft an account that would resonate, one that would not just recount the past, but breathe life back into it. The compass pulsed gently at my side, urging me onward. With each word I typed, I felt the spirits urging me to continue. This narrative would be a testament to their lives, a way to immortalize their stories and ensure that the Eleanor's Hope would be remembered not just for its tragedy, but for the love and dreams that had once flourished aboard. I rallied my resolve, believing that by reclaiming their narratives, I could finally offer them the solace they had sought for so long. Thus began my quest to honor them, one that would stretch beyond the bounds of my small town and reach into the hearts of all who would listen. I would ensure the story of the Eleanor's Hope lived on, a bridge connecting memory and legacy for generations to come. As the weeks progressed, the mission to honor the Eleanor's Hope consumed me. Each day felt charged with purpose as I crafted the intertwined narratives of those lost souls. The compass, resting by my side, pulsed with energy, urging me to delve deeper. Every word I wrote echoed not only their tragedies, but also their dreams and the love they had left behind. One evening, I sat with Lana at our shared workspace in the local library, surrounded by old photos and documents pinned to the wall. The hustle and bustle around us seemed to fade as we convened to prepare for the community gathering we had planned. "We need to bring more townsfolk together," I said, setting my pen down. "Their stories deserve to be heard, and I believe they'll find comfort in sharing their memories of the Eleanor's Hope." Lana nodded in agreement, her eyes bright. "Let's reach out through social media and create flyers. We can hold it here." She pointed to a section of the library with a large circle of tables. Under these historic beams, where so many have gathered for generations, we can create a sense of unity. I felt a surge of hope bloom within me. Over the next couple of days, we distributed flyers and spread the word through town. As the night approached, I felt a mix of excitement and nerves wash over me. This gathering would not just be an event, it would be a tribute to those who had been silenced for far too long. When the evening of the gathering arrived, apprehension hung in the air. The creaking wooden floorboards echoed as residents filled the room with a mix of hope and trepidation. Familiar faces of families who had lost loved ones aboard the Eleanor's Hope mingled with newcomers, intrigued to learn about its past. I stood at the front of the room, heart racing, gazing out at the crowd. "Thank you all for coming tonight. We gather to commemorate the lives of those lost aboard the Eleanor's Hope, to remember their stories, and to honor the love they left behind." My voice trembled, but the sincerity behind my words brought a palpable stillness. As stories began to flow, a swirl of memories intertwined within the room. Nostalgia, chanting through broken voices. Each tale added layers of richness to the Eleanor's Hope's tapestry. Mr. Bennett spoke of the ship's launch, highlighting the festival of joy that enveloped the town that day. "It was a moment of promise," he recounted, a light brightening his eyes. "Our hopes floated with the ship, destined for distant lands." As the stories continued, an elderly woman named Clara stood, her frame small, but her presence commanding. "I was just a girl then," she began, her voice soft but unwavering. "But I remember dancing with my father in the streets, waiting for the ship to return. Tears fell when it vanished, but we learned to bury our hearts with the waves." Her eyes sparkled with unshed tears, igniting a fire of urgency in my own heart. Then came a man named Harold, whose father had built the hull. "They said my father worked too quickly, didn't take heed of the warnings. He lost everything. I remember him staring out into the sea, searching for answers." His voice trembled with the weight of remorse, echoing the bitterness that came with inherited grief. As I listened, I began to see the larger picture unfold. This tragedy was not just a forgotten tale. It was a wound that ran deep through generations, crying out for acknowledgement and healing. I could almost feel the spirits of the crew lingering, intertwining with the storytelling. When the evening began to wind down, emotions ran, overflowing. We'd connected pain and love through the shared threads of loss, but I felt there was more to be done. I stood again, feeling the weight of the room lean toward me. Each story shared tonight is a step toward healing. Let us not just remember, Let us resolve to carry their legacy forward, I declared with fervor. I want to document these stories, to bring them to light in a way that ensures the Eleanor's Hope is not merely a tragic headline, but a legacy of love and resilience. The crowd nodded, murmurs of agreement coursing through them. Perhaps we could transform this gathering into something tangible, something that would spread their stories beyond the confines of our town. That night, after saying goodbye to attendees, I was plunged into reflection. As Lana walked with me toward home under a moonlit sky, she turned and remarked, "I believe we're onto something powerful. If we can fuse these stories into a documentary, we can touch hearts beyond our town and reach those who need to hear them. Yes, we'll gather interviews, footage, and weave it with dramatic recreations," I said excitedly. "We can even include historical accounts, old sea shanties, and that folklore we've heard from locals." In the following months, we set to work. We captured lives lived in fragments, intertwining memories, and the remnants of sorrow to craft a collective narrative that spoke not just of loss, but of love. The compass remained grounded in my pocket, a talisman reminding me of the spirit's resolve to be seen, entwined with our journey. One evening, during a filming session at the shoreline, I felt a sudden chill wrap around us. "Did you feel that?" I asked Lana, holding the compass tightly. She nodded, glancing around nervously. "I think," she hesitated, "the spirits feel our intent. They know what we're doing." Resolute, I took a deep breath and addressed the unseen presence. "We honor you, and we carry your stories forward. We will ensure that you are not forgotten." As the waves crashed rhythmically against the shore, reassuring and eternal, I knew we were forging a connection not only with the past, but a promise to the future. Through this documentary, the legacy of the Eleanor's Hope would find its voice once more, a voice that could echo across time, bridging the gap between memory and eternity. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I felt the spirit's warmth, nudging us forward, whispering encouragement for the journey that lay ahead. The months melted into each other as Lana and I dedicated ourselves to the Eleanor's Hope documentary. Days blurred as we screened interviews with the town's elders and recreated pivotal moments from the ship's journey. I felt the spirits pushing us forward, infusing our work with purpose and urgency. Each anecdote drew us closer to capturing the essence of those lost lives. One afternoon, we decided to revisit the community for suggestions on what they wanted the documentary to convey. "It's essential to include the heart of our community," I explained to Lana as we prepared to present our progress at the next town meeting. From the moment we stepped into the packed hall, a buzz of anticipation filled the air. I opened our discussion by sharing what we had uncovered so far, stories of love, longing, and unfinished journeys. "These memories are not just ours. They belong to all of us. You have the power to shape how these stories are told," I concluded, looking around the room with hopeful eyes. After a moment of silence, an older woman named Agnes rose to her feet. "What do you plan to do about the scandal surrounding the captain?" Her voice trembled slightly, revealing the weight of the question that lingered like a shadow. I exchanged a glance with Lana. "We intend to address the tragedy of the ship and its ties to the town, but we want your input on how to frame it. People have hushed those truths for far too long. It's time for everyone to know what happened." "Your work will bring justice," Agnes said, conviction in her words. The room erupted in murmurs, and hands raised with suggestions on how best to approach the narrative. One by one, people shared their thoughts, with many urging us to blend the tragedy with the triumphs of those aboard. It was clear they wanted to honor the crew, not only as victims, but as individuals with stories to tell. Encouraged by their enthusiasm, we began to refine our approach, planning to feature reenactments showing both the joyful moments and the heartbreaking realities. The film would highlight the men who had sailed bravely, seeking their fortunes while navigating the dangers of the sea. As our discussions continued, I felt the air ripple with expectation. "We've all held the pain of this loss," I stated, my pulse quickening. Let's not only recover the truth, but share it in a way that ensures these stories endure through generations. By evening's end, we had a reservoir of ideas and emotions to work from, each voice contributing to the fabric of the narrative. As we left the community center, the horizon blushed with the colors of twilight, and I felt as if the spirits of the Eleanor's Hope were guiding us, ready to remind us of the way forward. That weekend, we made plans to return to the shoreline where the ship had last sailed. We knew this was a moment of reverence, a chance to mingle the essence of remembrance with film. I slipped the compass from my pocket, feeling its cool metal in my hand. This had become more than a piece of nautical history. It was a beacon of hope, a promise kept. As we set up the cameras, a chill danced across the water's surface, stirring the air around us. "What do you think the spirits would say to us now?" Lana pondered, adjusting the camera lens to capture the rolling waves. I paused, letting the salty breeze brush against my face. "They would want us to understand their fears and their dreams. They want us to honor their legacy," I replied, feeling the compass warm slightly in my palm. "Let's go with that intention." We captured dramatic reenactments, each scene a manifestation of the past that brought the struggles of the crew vibrantly to life. Using local actors, we portrayed the captain's initial bravado, the storm's encroaching wrath, and the men's final moments aboard the ship as they faced the elements with determined hearts. While we filmed, the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the horizon. The energy shifted around us again. I could feel their presence more intensely, as if they were gathering to witness the stories being told anew. "Let's take a moment," I suggested. We paused the filming and stood together at the water's edge. As the waves lapped against the shore, I closed my eyes. "We honor you," I whispered into the evening air, letting my voice carry out toward the water. "We promise to share your stories." Suddenly, a breeze swept past us, cooling my skin. An echo of acknowledgement hung in the air. It felt as if the spirits were exhaling softly, relieved at the recognition, longing for their histories to be shared. Returning to our tasks, we resumed filming, more determined than ever. As darkness descended, we captured the last of the scenes with flickering lanterns that stood steadfast against the encroaching night, echoing resilience against adversity. Back at home, as I reviewed the footage, a wave of emotion washed over me. Each story we captured was a thread in the rich tapestry we were weaving. I could glimpse the collective narrative taking shape, a convergence of hope and sorrow. Yet something gnawed at me. Something deeper remained unresolved. Would we truly capture the essence of what the crew had wished to convey? Would communities beyond our own resonate with these stories? I felt the question echo, urging clarity. I decided to reach out to historians and academic circles who specialized in maritime lore. Perhaps their insights could help deepen our understanding and link personal narratives to broader historical contexts. Using my connections through the library, I secured meetings with a panel of experts. "What we need is to understand how the Eleanor's Hope fits into the larger maritime history," I informed Lana. "We must ascertain every faction before crafting this documentary." Together, we prepared to gather not just stories, but also the foundations of wisdom that would document life at sea, the adventures and the costs that came with it. The promise to preserve their memory was growing, and I knew deep down that the spirits of the Eleanor's Hope would watch over us, guiding our efforts with the love they had left behind. With renewed energy, I felt a surge of hope as we prepared for the panels and gatherings ahead. Our narratives would not simply retell their loss, they would honor lives lived fully, reclaiming the spirit of those lost at sea and ensuring they remained part of our world. The day of our first panel arrived, and with it came a mix of excitement and anxiety. We had gathered a group of esteemed historians and maritime experts who could illuminate the deeper context surrounding the Eleanor's Hope. Their insights were vital to transforming our documentary into a narrative that resonated beyond individual stories. As I stepped into the conference room, adorned with nautical artifacts, I felt the atmosphere hum with expectation. When I addressed the attendees, my heart pounded with a sense of purpose. Thank you all for joining today. We're not just here to recount the story of the Eleanor's Hope, but to weave these memories into a larger narrative about our maritime heritage. The discussion flowed naturally. Dr. Aldrich, an expert in maritime history, articulated how the Eleanor's Hope represented broader themes of exploration and loss. This tragedy is a reflection of history itself, of dreams pursued and the costs of those ambitions, he noted, capturing the audience's attention. Marisol, another panelist, offered parallels between our ship and other maritime disasters along the coast. We owe it to the souls aboard not only to remember their stories, but to learn from their experiences, she emphasized, her voice steady and clear. I could feel the spirits of the lost crew mingling with our words, their stories urging us forward. After the panel, I approached the experts individually, eager to delve deeper. If you could contribute your insights to our documentary, it would mean so much, I proposed, feeling hopeful. To my delight, each panelist agreed, eager to help us blend academic perspectives with emotional narratives. Dr. Aldrich offered to take us to the archives at the Maritime Museum, where original documents and artifacts awaited discovery. We'll uncover the soul of this story, he promised. The anticipation for the museum visit was palpable. As we entered the archives, I felt the weight of history around us. Maps, journals, and old compasses adorned the shelves, each with its own tale waiting to be told. While sorting through papers, I stumbled upon a letter penned by one of the crew members addressed to a loved one. "Look at this!" I exclaimed to Lana. The heartfelt words poured out, bridging the gap between past and present, filling my heart with hope. As we diligently photographed pages and made notes, an unexpected chill swept through the air. "Did you feel that?" Lana whispered, eyes wide with surprise. "I did," I replied, feeling a shiver down my spine. It felt as if the spirits were drawing near, a reminder of our promise to honor them. Moments later, a book fell from a shelf, opening to a chapter on maritime tragedies. I picked it up, my pulse racing, aware that this was no coincidence. "They want us to tell their truth," I murmured, realizing the weight of our mission. We gathered our findings and left the museum brimming with purpose. That evening, with the compass in hand, I felt a connection to the lost souls, a warm pulse of energy, affirming that we were indeed on the right path. The next few days were filled with meetings and discussions as we continued crafting our narrative. The spirits of the Eleanor's Hope felt closer than ever, lending their strength to our efforts. As we pieced together the documentary, it became clear that we were not merely telling stories. We were creating a living testament to those who dared to dream. Now, with every detail captured, we could honor the crew's legacy, ensuring they were remembered for their ambitions and their humanity, lost but never forgotten. Through this journey, I had discovered that the past and present could coexist, merging in a dance of remembrance and resilience. As we moved forward, I felt the weight of responsibility upon my shoulders, but with it, the guiding presence of the Eleanor's Hope, a voyage that would finally find its voice. With our newfound knowledge in hand, the project began to evolve in ways I hadn't anticipated. Each meeting, every interview, felt like a new thread being woven into our documentary's fabric. The more we learned about the Eleanor's Hope, the clearer it became that this wasn't just a story of tragedy, but one of hope, perseverance, and the unyielding spirit of those who had sailed. We decided to hold a community screening to share our progress and gather feedback before the final cut. I felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. I wanted the audience to connect with the narrative we were building, to feel the spirit's presence as keenly as we did. As the day of the screening approached, the pressure mounted. I spent countless hours editing the footage, ensuring that every story flowed seamlessly from one to another, intertwining past and present. I incorporated archival images, historical context from our panel discussions, and the poignant letter I had discovered in the archives. It felt like I was allowing the very souls of the Eleanor's Hope to guide my editing process, ensuring that their stories were told with honor. The night of the screening, the community center buzzed with anticipation. I could see familiar faces, neighbors, friends, families. Some had parents or grandparents connected to the ship. They had come not only for the documentary, but also to remember. As I stood at the front, facing the crowd, I opened my heart. Thank you for being here. This project is as much yours as it is ours. Your stories, your memories, help shape what you're about to see. Together, we are preserving a legacy that deserves to be remembered. After I spoke, the lights dimmed and the screen flickered to life. As I watched, a mix of pride and anxiety swelled within me. The narrative unfolded like a gentle tide, starting with the crew's dreams, then shifting to their harrowing struggle against both nature and fate. I could see the audience leaning in, their expressions shifting from curiosity to poignancy. The haunting visuals, paired with the emotional weight of the letters and voices, wrapped around them like an embrace. I had hoped the spirits would convey their essence, and as the ship's final moments were depicted, I felt a palpable stillness descend. When the credits rolled, the silence lingered for a heartbeat before a wave of applause erupted through the room. People stood, many wiping tears from their eyes, moved by the stories and memories we had shared. A voice broke through the emotional haze. Agnes, the elder I had spoken with at the earlier town meeting, stood with a trembling hand raised. I shared stories of the Eleanor's Hope with my children, but never like this. You've given us a way to remember, to heal. Her words pierced through my heart, and I nodded, overwhelmed with gratitude. As more attendees shared their thoughts, I noticed the weight of the spirits surrounding us. They were rejoicing, their stories now enshrined in the hearts of those present. The documentary had become more than just a film. It was a living memorial, a bridge connecting the past to the present, pulling us all into a shared legacy. After the event, I gathered with Lana and the team, feeling the adrenaline rush through us. This is just the beginning, I said, my revelations spilling forth. We have to share this beyond our town, through social media, local festivals. The world needs to know their stories. With their unwavering support, the conversation turned toward how to maximize outreach. We need to create a social media campaign, Lana suggested. We can use clips from the documentary, share the history, and invite discussions about maritime heritage. This isn't just our story. It belongs to everyone who has experienced loss or love at sea. Emboldened by the community's response and our team's ideas, we formulated a plan. In the weeks that followed, we launched our campaign across various platforms, harnessing the power of storytelling to connect with audiences far and wide. Clips of the documentary showcased not just the Eleanor's Hope, but also invited others to share their maritime connections and family histories. As our outreach expanded, so did our impact. The response was overwhelming. Stories flooded in from people who reached out to share their connections to the sea, tales of loss, hope, and incredible strength. Through it all, I felt the spirits guiding our narrative, reminding us that they were still part of this world, shaping it, bridging memories with dreams. One rainy evening, as I sat at my desk with the compass in hand, deep in thought, I felt a warm, familiar pulse emanating from the object. I knew then, our project had grown from a documentary into a movement that had the potential to unify communities and preserve history. This journey allowed me to grasp something profound. Stories don't simply fade, they evolve, they intertwine, teaching us lessons that echo through generations. I vowed to ensure that the Eleanor's Hope would not only be remembered, but would serve as a beacon of hope for future voyagers, those who dare to chase their dreams despite the stormy seas ahead. As I drifted into sleep that night, I felt the spirits whispering, their joy resonating in every breath I took. Together, we would keep their memories alive, binding the fabric of past and present into a legacy that would inspire countless souls, just as they had once inspired me. As our outreach campaign blossomed, I could feel a vibrant energy surging through our work, weaving connections between the past and the present. The Eleanor's Hope was no longer just a historical vessel. It had transformed into a symbol of communal resilience and remembrance. With each social media post, we shared not only clips from the documentary, but also personal stories that resonated with people far beyond our small community. One afternoon, while going through comments on our latest post, I found a heartfelt message from a woman named Claire. She wrote, "My grandfather was on the Eleanor's Hope. I've always wanted to learn more about his journey." My heart raced. Here was someone directly linked to our mission, eager for connection. I reached out to her, inviting Claire to join us for a gathering we planned to honor the stories we had collected. Excited, she replied almost immediately, eager to participate and share what she knew. I noted the significance of this moment. Her expressions of interest reminded me of the realities many faced, the yearning to reclaim lost narratives. On the day of the gathering, the community center we had rented buzzed with the energy of shared anticipation. Families arrived, clutching old photographs and family artifacts, each piece infused with its own story. As I glanced around the room, I felt a mix of gratitude and thrill, eager to hear the voices that would honor their loved ones. Standing at the front, I opened the gathering with a word of thanks, my voice steady but emotional. This event is about honoring our lost ones and sharing the rich stories that connect us to the sea. The spirits of our loved ones sail alongside us today, reminding us that their stories deserve to be told. As the first speaker stepped up, I could feel the room shift. Claire stood with a gentle smile, holding a photo of her grandfather. Tears began welling in her eyes as she spoke. "This is my grandfather, Charles. He wrote journals during his time on the Eleanor's Hope. They've been a family secret for so long." Her vulnerability resonated, pulling everyone in closer. As Claire read excerpts from her grandfather's journals, the room fell silent. The words described his dreams of adventure intermingled with stories of camaraderie and courage. The mix of joy and sorrow ignited a deeper connection within us as the audience grasped the humanity behind the tragic fate of the ship and its crew. Next, a local fisherman named Hank took the mic, pride shimmering in his eyes. "My great-uncle helped build ships like the Eleanor's Hope," he said, brandishing an old oil lamp. He always shared tales of the joys and struggles of sailing. Each story woven into the gathering created a tapestry of shared remembrance and connection. The air filled with laughter, poignant pauses, and the unmistakable energy of collective healing. As the event unfolded, the room's atmosphere turned electric. Everyone brought forth tales of their ancestors, each voice contributing to a history that was both personal and shared. I reveled in the fact that we were creating a space that fostered unity through stories, something the seas had inspired for generations. Toward the end of the gathering, I steered the conversation towards our next steps. We've breathed new life into these stories today. Together, I believe we can keep this momentum going, I proposed. Let's create an online space where we can continue sharing our connections, perhaps even dive deeper into the maritime history that binds us all. Nods of approval echoed among the crowd, and excitement bubbled in the air. We discussed options for regular meetups, online sharing platforms, and even the possibility of a follow-up documentary that could encompass these newfound narratives. As the attendees slowly departed, I felt a sense of fulfillment wash over me. I had intended for this gathering to be about the Eleanor's Hope, but it transformed into so much more. A community reconnected to its roots, a tribute to the lives that had come before us. That night, lying in bed with the compass still nestled in my palm, I reflected on the day's events. Each story held the power to illuminate lives, enriching our understanding of history and the sea's timeless grip on our souls. The spirits of the Eleanor's Hope, once longing for acknowledgement, had become our guiding lights, inviting us into a shared journey of remembrance. I smiled, knowing the legacy we were building held the potential to ripple through time, encouraging future generations to explore their maritime roots. In the darkness, whispers filled the room, assuring me that we were just beginning. The Eleanor's Hope had become more than a story of loss. It had emerged as a vessel of hope, inviting everyone to navigate along the winding waters of their own histories and discoveries. Together, we would not only reclaim the past, but celebrate the enduring spirit of exploration, forever grateful to those who sailed before us.